Optimizing Telehealth, the premium resource for evidence-based strategies to enhance telepractice today. Brought to you by the Telebehavioral Health Institute. Enjoy this excerpt from the latest episode. To access the full episode and to get your continuing medical education and continuing education hours, visit us at Telehealth.org.
Hello, I'm Dr. Marlene Maheu, and I'm delighted to welcome you to the Optimizing Telehealth podcast, where you can participate in collegial discussion with interprofessional telehealth thought leaders from around the world. So now we're going to shift a little bit to talk about the technology.
So one of the things that we talked about was connectivity. And with our clients using a variety of devices, whether that's a smartphone or a tablet, maybe sometimes a laptop to connect with us, and being in different geographic locations. And we even know that our more urban areas sometimes have difficulties with internet speed. So we can help our clients test their internet speed. Marlene's going to tell you the quickest way to test that out on the client or patient end. We need to be thinking about that on the provider end as well, particularly if you're working within a practice and doing telehealth out, which many are doing right now. Do you have enough bandwidth and enough internet speed to support more than one provider at a time? And for those working at home, it's also important to know what is your internet speed if you're working from home and maybe you have a partner working from home or a child schooling from home, and are they absorbing some of what's accessible to you? All of those things are things we'd like to look at and navigate for ourselves as providers, as well as the clients and patients that connect with us. If we can get them to test this, and if their speed is really low, we might ask a question such as, do you have a child who's playing a game right now online, or is someone in your house downloading or streaming video content, so that we can schedule and work around other events or activities that may be pulling on that internet speed. But it's real easy to walk a client or patient through testing their internet speed to see if they have enough to support our connection.
So the quickest way to find out what your internet speed is to go to the internet and do what I did right here. I took a screenshot of it. What is my internet speed? Initially, I had a large national carrier, and my incoming speed, the download speed, was 48 megabytes per second. Upload is typically slower if you're just kind of a regular person, but you'll see some people have equal speed to go up. That means our picture going out to the people we're trying to reach, right? And gamers will get connections. Well, that's even faster, because when they make a response, they want that thing to be received at the other end before anybody else does. So they try to push on that. You see some cities have that set up too. A lot of gamers in those cities. But this was failing on me constantly. So I looked around, and what I found was a local television cable provider had a megabyte connection. I'm much happier with it, and it doesn't tile and pixelate and freeze and do all that kind of stuff anymore. Most of the time. And then the speed that goes out is basically 5 times the speed. So it's a lot better.
And Marlene, one of the other things we might mention here is that sometimes we're asked, what is the minimum speed upload and download that you need to have to use telehealth? And there's not a standard answer anymore, right? A couple of decades ago, or even a decade ago, we had some guidance from our professional organizations and the Fed saying you must have this as a minimum speed to ensure as close to in-person as possible. But right now we're engaging with so many different platforms, and some are cloud-based, others are not. And so it's really important to talk with your platform and your software provider to understand what kind of pull they need and what kind of support they need to support as close to in-person communication as possible. And it does vary by provider.
And I wouldn't necessarily trust what they say either, because the video provider I was using with the biggest bandwidth over here, the 48, I was well within their parameters, but it kept tiling and pixelating. So best thing is test your own. And people that you work with as well, you see on their end, you can ask them if it keeps doing that, you can ask them to type in the speed, and then you can ask them about any kids in the house, who else is doing anything on that line, or maybe they can call their provider for another session. So, Shauna, you want to talk a little bit about other technology that's available for assessment, and that assessments that can help us screen and kind of monitor who's appropriate for telehealth.
You bet. And we do want to let you know we don't have any conflict of interest to disclose with these two testing companies, but we wanted to share with you that as we move online, our assessment publishers have moved online, and they have secure and private ways for us to share assessments. Now, we do have some copyrighted and proprietary assessments where we can connect with companies like PAR or Pearson, and they've really adapted the lion's share of their assessments online. And the important thing to think about there is with these assessments, they've also validated them with the online distribution and responses. So if there are assessments or screening measures that you have used in your in-person practice, it's worth looking towards those publishers to see if they've moved online. A majority of them have stepped into that space. And then for those open access screenings and assessments, there are ways that we can adapt those to our telehealth care. Some providers choose to just ask questions and note their clients' responses. And others can even talked with their EHRs or the companies that provide their patient portals and incorporated some of those questionnaires there. There's even a HIPAA compliant email company that will help develop those online measures if you're using an open access, open source screener. So just some things to think about in terms of continuing to collect your screening and assessment measures if you're doing more and more online and telehealth work.
Thanks for listening to this excerpt from the latest episode of Optimizing Telehealth, your premium resource for evidence-based care. To access the full episode and to get your continuing medical education and continuing education hours, go to optimizingtelehealth.org.